Welcome back, everyone, to the Flying Lion podcast. Tonight, we have a very special guest, someone who has spent some time with the Bengals, with the Reds, and FC Cincinnati as a DJ for the past few seasons. DJ Prymtime, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So just wanted to know a little bit about you and kind of get to know where you're from originally. Is it Cincinnati or somewhere else?
So I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. So I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. Cincinnati is home to me now. I've been here for pretty much almost like 11 years now. So I consider it home. I know the ins and outs of it. So, and the people here have welcomed me with open arms. So I feel like I was born here, although I wasn't.
Did you get your start DJing in Louisville, or was it kind of when you moved to Cincy, or was that kind of like a thing like you moved to Cincy because of DJing?
No, so I kind of started DJing in college, which was years ago. So I've been doing it for about 13 years now, and didn't really take it too seriously when I was in college. Just doing like little college parties here and there, frat parties, those type thing, house parties. And then about 6 years ago is kind of when I really took it serious, and I put in my 2-week notice one day and said I'm gonna take it on full time. I'm gonna figure it out. So about 6 years now, full time, I've been doing it. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So do you have like a favorite part of being a DJ then?
I guess it's the people, like the people connections that I have. You said I DJ for I do a lot like here in the city. So I've met a lot of really, really awesome people. I got my network, my really close friends here in the city are some really awesome people. But then also like, the fans of FC Cincinnati, the Bengals, the Reds. I also do Xavier basketball too. So, just meeting those, like just meeting the people, just having those connections with people. And then like the fans, and especially now, like with the sports teams, it's a lot of the kids also that, that love the brand of Prymtime.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it seems like your name is out there everywhere now. Like I said, Reds, the Bengals, it's pretty awesome to see. I'm sure for you too. And kind of like you said, building your brand.
Yeah. God, it's been a long time coming, but yeah, it is awesome. Like, I guess you could say this is like the fruits of the labor of all the small bar gigs and stuff that I was doing years ago. And now I kind of get to really enjoy the career.
Yeah, I think, talking, 13 years, right, being in this, is there anything that like, as far as like event wise, obviously you named like a bunch that you've already done or do right now. Is there one event that stands out to you of like, okay, this was probably like a turning point, or like even like the biggest event that you've done? Like, have we gotten to that point yet?
I kind of have those moments every year where I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Like the make sense moment for me, like every year. I would say, so this is my 4th year with FC Cincinnati. So 4 years ago, we did Palooza Noir, a Juneteenth block party at the Banks. It was probably like 5,000 people at that time. And I made my announcement that I was DJing for FC Cincinnati on the stage in front of 5,000 people. So that was a pretty awesome moment for me. Congratulations, stuff that I got after that. And then the next year, I announced that I was going to be the official DJ for the Bengals at the same block party in front of 10,000 people. And then last year, I announced that I was working with the Reds in front of 15,000 people. So I gotta try to one up that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta have something for this year now. Like it's got to be somebody big. Yeah.
Sam, I think it's a World Series game. That would be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Are you doing anything with opening day coming up with the Reds?
I'm not doing anything specific with the Reds. My first game there will be April 5th. So I'm not doing anything specifically with the Reds that day, but I do have some events that day, throughout the city for opening day. Yeah.
I had a question, I guess, turning more towards the FC Cincinnati side. Had you ever been to a soccer game prior to being a DJ for the FC?
No, never have been to a soccer game. God, that's crazy because the more and more I think about it, it's like not only had I not ever been to a game, but I was never even a soccer fan at all. And it really didn't happen until the pandemic. And so when the pandemic happened, of course, everything was shut down. So all of my income and all of my jobs were completely gone. So that really gave me a lot of time to do a lot of plotting and planning and what I was going to do and how I was going to move about, my career. It was a very scary time for me also because, again, there's no income coming in. So during that time, actually at the time, so everything that you see at FC Cincinnati games, it's all scripted as far as the entertainment part of it. So all of our ads, all of our music that's played, we have a production team that's in the press box. We have a producer, we have a director, we have people that do the replays, we have producers, he's producing all the cameras. We have our director that's directing, everybody. So at the time, it was right before the stadium, TQL Stadium opened, and they had the producer previously that was at Nippert Stadium, he had left, or he or she had left, I'm not sure who it was. But then they hired a guy named Scott Smoot, which was the producer from the WWE.
Yeah.
Scott Smoot is really well known, like in the sports entertainment world. And Scott Smoot was there for 2 weeks, and then within that 2 weeks, he hired me. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, and 3 days later, after he hired me, the WWE went back on tour.
He went back, yeah.
He went back, and then I kept my job. So yeah, so
wow.
Everybody else's first experience in TQL Stadium was also that was my first experience with soccer ever. Yeah.
So I'm sure like watching it for the first time, you're like not really sure what's going on, but after a while now you probably have it figured out.
Yeah. So that first season was definitely like a learning curve for me. But it was for sure a learning curve for me. It was a learning curve for me and the rest of the production team. Because again, the producer from previous had left. So pretty much a lot of the staff was brand new. So we were all learning together. And so, and what's crazy is soccer's my favorite sport now.
Oh, that's awesome. I was just about to ask, like, of all the atmospheres like in the city, do you feel like FC is up there with the other two?
For sure, if not the best.
Right.
All of them are unique in their own way. The Bengals is unique. The demographic there is different than soccer fans also. I think with FC Cincinnati, it's an intimate environment also. The stadiums are not the stadium is not as big as the other two. Mm-hmm. So it's a very intimate environment. And the energy that is given off in that intimate environment it's unmatched. It really is. So I've had some good experiences with the other teams also, but I mean like the Columbus playoff game, Miami coming into town. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, those are up there in my sports experiences.
I mean, having the world's best player, in soccer come and play, I mean, is incredible. And I'm sure like for you to like DJ that was probably like awesome.
It was awesome, man. Yeah, it was definitely, it was awesome. So I compare it to like last year, I DJ'd the Reds game when Ellie hit for the cycle.
Oh, wow.
That game, which was a sold out crowd at Great American. And then I also compare it to like the level of like the whiteouts with like the Bengals, Monday Night Football, like that level of energy that was in that stadium that day. It was pretty awesome. Didn't get the win, but it was still, I mean, that's an experience that like a lot of people wish that they could have.
Yeah, so we were both at that game, so we know exactly like how you felt like in the moment. I'm sure watching as well. But after like 4 years now, you're talking like FC is like my favorite team. Like I love soccer so much now. Like I was actually that first year at TQL Stadium, I got to be an intern of FC Cincinnati. So like I got to see the ins and outs of the stadium and kind of be a part of that, right? And so obviously the big song, right, is for the intro, like everybody knows it now. What is the backstory into like how do you like, did you choose that song? Like how was that kind of all concocted? Because you're talking about the production team and everything behind that as well.
Yeah, so what's awesome also about FC Cincinnati and especially like the staff there, that production staff, is they kind of give me free reign to do whatever I want to do. They trust me to do whatever I want to do. So when I first came, again, that first year, it was a trial and error year for us. We were trying different things, and some things didn't work that well, and then some things did, and then some things didn't. So I was the originator of Baila Conmigo.
Oh, there you go.
And it was just really for me just sitting on my computer one day, searching through music, and that I was looking for a song. I was actually looking for a goal song, like a team goal song.
Yeah.
I was looking for like like an anthem. Like an anthem that we could make ours. And at that time, also, I don't know if you remember, like the Mets, their anthem was Narco.
Yeah.
The
Timmy
Narco
Trumpet.
song was like really big when their closer came in. I think, yeah. So like
Yeah.
that was like their really big moment. So I was listening to music thinking of like that same moment. And as soon as I heard the horns, I was like, this is it. Like, this is it. And then like the build up into like the drop, I was like, yeah, this is perfect. And then very interesting, is the beginning of last year, they took it away from us.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, they took it away.
Yes. So I got an email that said they didn't want to do that anymore. And again, like I said, they kind of give me, well, one, it didn't work. And we got a lot of complaints, like a lot of complaints. And people were tweeting me and messaging me on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm like, it's not my choice. I promise you, if I can do something about it, I'm the one that picked the song. Like, of course I want to play it. Like,
right.
But so one of the games, the producer just said, you know what, just go ahead and do it. If they say something, it'll come back on me. And so I did it. And then it's been back ever since.
Yeah, I mean, it gets us going, and you kind of know like when the game's going to start. Like if you're around like grabbing a beer or something and you hear this song and it's like, all right, you know, the game's about to, start off. I guess my question, you said about changes and stuff too. I think before in TQL, you were at a different place than you're at now. Do you like one place better than the other? Or I guess, do you get any choice in that too?
So I've been in 3 different spots. So originally the spot that I'm in now, I was on the opposite side. And then I moved to one of the corners. But where I'm at now is in one of the club levels, and I'm on the patio of the Pitch View Club. And I love the spot that I'm at now. I tell people all the time I have the best seat in the house. I love it where I'm at. It's the club level, so it's not too many people around, but it's still like I see the familiar faces all the time that have season tickets over there. Yeah, I love it. I love it where I'm at.
Got a good view of the field from there, like the whole thing. And like, I don't know, if you're down too far, sometimes it's hard to see the whole field, but right where you're at, it's like perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
So is the rumor, are the rumors true? Like, are you and, the Mandalorian like best friends, or is like what?
Okay, so
there, you know?
Being where I'm at is how we ended up like establishing that relationship. So he has season tickets over there, and he would always just come say, "Hey, what's up?" to me. And again, this is one of the other ideas that I have that just popped up in my head one day, and I was like, hey, when they come over to me and introduce me, like, you should come over and like hype the crowd up with me. He was like, yeah, that's awesome. And then we end up finding out that there's 3 more, so there's 4 total Mandalorians.
Oh wow!
So if you're paying attention in the playoff game, we had all 4 of them over there, and they put a quote up from Star Wars like on the board and everything. So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think hyping the crowd up. I mean, in some ways the game by itself does that too, but you definitely get it going. I would say you're like the vibes guy for sure.
Yeah.
But I think when I mentioned before, I think we had met downtown at some point, but you mentioned you knew Brandon Vasquez before. Was it cool seeing him again playing for a different team now though?
I don't know.
Yeah, cool. So me and Brandon are really good friends. We, during his time here, we golfed a lot. We're both kind of like shoe guys. So we have a very good mutual friend that owns a shoe store down in OTR. And yeah, me and Brandon spent a lot of time together, go out, and I can't tell you what we did when we went out, but actually I can tell you now because he's gone. So we would go out and party. Yeah, we would go out and party together. Yeah, so it was awesome to see him back. It's bittersweet that he scored against us.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great to see him back. I got to see him after the game, went down to the locker room to go talk to him, and it's great. And I love to see. I know a lot of people are upset about it, but I mean that's the business that he's in.
Right.
He's got a family, he's got a kid, he's got a wife, and somebody's gonna offer you more money. Most people would take it. So
right.
Yeah, with your relationship with him, like now, like he's a dad, right? So like, did you give him any advice? Like, the last time that you saw him, was it like, hey, like,
yeah, get as much sleep as you possibly can. When you can, get as much sleep as you possibly can. Yeah.
We'll see what happens tomorrow with them. Hopefully we do all right against them. But again, yeah, we've been following him, and we're happy, about everything that he's doing down there too.
Yeah.
So
I guess I have a really good relationship with a lot of the players though. So
okay.
that's what I guess it's all sports, but in soccer especially is I've built a lot of relationships with these players again because a lot of them they know I DJ like out in the city also. So when they do have off nights or they have like a off morning, they don't have training the next day. Some of them want to go out, they want to go get a drink, they want to go get dinner or whatever, whatever that might be. So they all reach out to me to kind of be that person to lead them like the right direction.
Go to guy. Yeah.
So I've gained I've become really good friends with a lot of them. So
That's awesome. For like DeAndre Yedlin coming to the team. So you're probably telling him like, hey, this is the place to go or not go.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know if it's as hype as Miami, but like
it's definitely not Miami. I can promise you that. But it's not bad though. Yeah, a lot of the players enjoy Cincinnati. Like you'd be surprised. A lot of the other MLS cities are not Cincinnati though. So
true.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be in Columbus.
Yeah. Outside of FC games, favorite place to DJ in the city?
There's so many of them. There's a few. So I also DJ a lot of different vibes. So like on a Thursday night, I do an R&B, like an R&B night. So more of like a more chill, like loungy type feel. On Saturday nights, I do Tallulah nightclub, which is like a full nightclub, lights and the smoke, the CO2 cannons, the bottles, the sparklers. I do that. That's also a great time. So I do a lot of different stuff around the city.
So with all that goes around, around the city, obviously, like hopefully one of the main attractions is FC Cincinnati, what we got going on this season. Is there any like thing that you're looking forward to, the rest of the season or even, like gameplay or anything that's going through your mind specifically for this season, coming off a Supporter Shield championship?
Yeah, for me, again, I'm always plotting and planning, like in my mind, even during the moment, I'm always like, I consider myself an overthinker. So for me, it's like, how do we keep that same energy from last year? And even if I'm being completely honest, the energy this year is kind of starting a little bit weird and I don't like it. So it's like, how do we keep that energy fresh? How do we keep people interested? How do we keep the bad vibes and bad energy out of the stadium? How do we keep all that in there? And I think that we have a lot of talent on our team this year. I think it's going to be an exciting year. I think it's just a slow start. And last year we started hot and then we kind of cooled off towards the end of the season. So hopefully this year we're kind of getting our footing and then we'll build up and have a great season. I think we got a great team. We still got the MVP of the league. We still have a lot of talent. We have pretty much half of the U.S. men's national team on our team. So, we definitely have the talent to repeat and, get back to where we were last year.
Yeah, I think your point about like the vibe. I mean, we kind of sense that too when we're at the games, but I feel like it's a Sunday thing too. Early on in the year, it's kind of cold.
Yeah.
I know the diehards are there, but maybe your average fan, you're gonna draw out a little bit more in the summer, but keeping the vibe high. I mean, I know that's your job, so we appreciate that. Talking, I guess, on the Bengals, though, I was just interested your thoughts on the Bengals free agency now that all this craziness is going on right now.
It feels like soccer to me. Man, it's football, and again, it's a business at the end of the day, and that's what a lot of people, fans are very emotional about the decisions that teams and stuff make. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and they got to do what they got to do. You got to trust them at the end. Like that's how I feel. And I think the Bengals organization, like especially like Elizabeth Blackburn, there's a lot of younger people now in that organization. They're building a culture in that organization. They're building a culture with the fans, the fan experience there. They're building like just traditions and cultures there. And I think that the team is following along with that. The team, the Super Bowl run and then the AFC Championship run. Last year was a little bit of a letdown because of injuries and so, but we got to get a healthy team, and I think the Bengals will be fine.
Yeah, I think the off-season moves have been a little bit weird. Obviously, like being fans of it, you're looking at it like, oh my, like guy like Joe Mixon, like gone, But moving over to the Reds now, like we got spring training going on at the same time. Like I feel like this is a crazy, actually like week for like Cincinnati sports. Because honestly, like Bengals have been in the news. You got Reds spring training. Like any thoughts for the Reds spring training or upcoming season as well?
Reds, I said they're a very young team, a very talented team. I think last year we got a glimpse of how good they can actually be. I think they've added some key pieces this year. I think that They're going to have a very scary lineup this year, 1 through 9. Everybody can hit. Explosive team. Going to be young. Got to probably make a lot of mistakes. But I think they'll put themselves in positions to win a lot of games this year. I mean, we were in contention last year. There was a run there where we was looking like we might be a playoff bound. So,
Yeah.
Imagine that team going through this offseason, this spring training now, and getting that experience with each other, building that like that brotherhood, that like family ties with each other. I think it'll be a great season. I'm excited for it. It's springtime, summertime. The weather's getting better. I'm excited. Yeah.
There's a lot of good coming. I mean, like you said, with FC, hopefully building up through the summer with the Reds too. Hopefully, getting some better Bengals news as the weeks go on here too, and with the draft and everything. Being from Louisville, did you have like a favorite team or like a sport maybe that you played growing up? Either one of those.
Oh, so being from Louisville, we didn't have professional teams. So my team was always the Louisville Cardinals, college. Like growing up, Rick Pitino era, Denny Crum era, like basketball, football, and professionally, because my grandfather was from Georgia, I was always a Falcons fan, like the Michael Vick era. I actually got the name Prymtime from Dion. I played football in college, so that's how I ended up getting. Yeah, that's how I ended up getting the DJ name Prymtime. Like people used to call me.
What was the reason for the Y? Because you put the Y in there. Is that just to be different?
So this is interesting. So when Twitter first came out, I created a Twitter account and I wanted my Twitter name to be Prymtime, and the name was already taken.
Yeah.
The spelling was already taken. So I just spelled it however, I just spelled it that way. And then it's always just been that way.
I like it. It's unique, and I think it stands out that way too. Yep. Were you a cornerback then or like a safety?
I was, cornerback, and I was number 21.
Yeah. I mean, Prymtime's the perfect person with everything that he's doing now with Colorado too.
Yeah. Coach Prime, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you again for joining us tonight. I think that's all the questions that we have for you. I guess for our listeners, where can they follow you? I guess on your socials or even see you perform here coming up?
Yeah, so all of my social media is Prymtime, Prymtime. That's where you can follow me anywhere. And then performing opening day, which will be in a couple of weeks, I will be at Moorline Lager House on the line. Where I'll be there we're there from noon to 4 o'clock. We're doing like a pre-game party right there on the line at Moorline on the banks, right on the river. And then for St. Patrick's Day, which will be before that, I will be at Hyde at the Banks, which is a new like lounge on the Banks right beside E&O. I'll be there from like 2 to 4. The next day, actually on St. Patrick's Day on that Sunday, I will be there all day. So, yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be a long day.
I was gonna say it doesn't stop for you. Between all the different, we've had so many soccer games at homes, and the Reds coming up too. You got a busy schedule, I'm sure.
Yes, but that's a good thing for me. Busy is good for me.
Yep. Well, thanks again for joining us, and appreciate your time.
Thank you all for having me.
Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, we are pumped to share our new sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
I'm sipping on the passion fruit margarita, which is so spicy, and it makes me feel like I'm on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'm drinking the Blood Orange Spritz, which has a great subtle ginger flavor coming from its scientifically formulated recipe to promote exercise recovery, enhance relaxation, and support a better night's sleep.
Ryan, that's exactly why I love them. Their cocktails are designed to fit seamlessly into your health-conscious lifestyle, giving you the enjoyment of a delicious adult drink without the downsides of alcohol.
Guys, next time you are looking for that post-workout drink or an afternoon pick-me-up, grab a Peak Cocktail. Visit them at www.peakcocktails.com and use the code FlyingLion at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Zach, enjoy your drink.
That was awesome. We want to thank DJ Prymtime for hopping on the podcast. Definitely some interesting stories that he's got there. Nice to hear a little background and things that he's got going on with the players. Hopefully he recommends the podcast to some of the players. Maybe they hop on the pod, right? But what do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the interview. Such a nice guy. Gave us a lot of background. A little bit of the story too, Sam, on, understanding a little bit on how our anthem or our song came to be before the matches too. So that was really cool. I loved hearing that from him. Yeah, I would love to have him back on in the future. Maybe even like, connect with him in the stadium. Just seems like such a nice guy. And excited to see him coming up for opening day too.
Yeah, absolutely. Busy guy, right? So now he's got 3 sports under his belt. But we're here to talk about one.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the team that's playing this weekend, FC Cincinnati, we have our next MLS game. First several weeks of the season were just so hectic. We had 8 games in like 25 days. So nice for the team to have a break this week. I think they had 6 days in total to kind of just rest, recoup, and hopefully to work on some things too, Sam. It sounds like Pat's comments were, hey, we really haven't had time to really adjust to things. We've kind of just been thrown into the fire in some ways, and they're undefeated in MLS play, so that's pretty awesome. But we're going to do a NYCFC preview. Like I said, we play this Saturday night at 7:30. This year, NYCFC is 1-3-0. They just got their first win, against Toronto at home on a late goal. They actually even won that game with a man down, Sam. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. But should be an interesting game. It seems like every time we play NYCFC, it's a high-scoring game. Even last year, I think there was a lot of goals that were scored overall.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think overall we're 3-6-2 against them all time, right?
Yeah, including Open Cup play.
And we lost the first 6, right? And so we haven't lost since 2021 against these guys. And they're 12th in the East right now, so they're struggling. And so I think once again this is going to be, I think, a good match. Obviously, you don't want to overlook a team like NYCFC, but I think this is a good match, especially when we're kind of not depleted, but won't have Obi likely, won't have Miles Robinson. But I think this is going to be a good opponent to get another MLS win under our belt, and hopefully we can climb up the rankings depending on what the other 2 teams do.
Like we mentioned on the last podcast, it's just like we've had the opposite of last year. We would win at home every single game, and then on the road it was kind of a mixed bag, but still didn't do bad. Now we're reversing it. It seems like road wins are the thing, but let's get back to winning at TQL. I know we had a couple of wins, or I guess one win, in CONCACAF Champions Cup, but the MLS games have been a snoozer. We haven't had a single goal, in TQL and in an MLS play. So like you mentioned, though, with the lineup, Miles is going to be out. He's going to be with the U.S. men's national team. Shout out to them. They play Jamaica tomorrow night. So Thursday night in the CONCACAF Nations League semifinal. Interesting that, he'll be involved with that. Maybe we'll get some minutes. I'm not quite sure on how that'll go. Do you think he will?
So predicted starting lineups have him and Chris Richards in the back.
Wow. What about Tim Ream? Did they not think that he was going? I don't know. That's interesting.
So I've also, so when I say predicted starting lineups, I've read through like 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
But most of them have Miles starting over Tim Ream.
Interesting.
Just because the form that he's playing. I believe Tim Ream hasn't been playing much for Fulham as of recent.
Yeah.
Whereas Miles Robinson is in form. So I think going with a guy like that I've read that it's very hard for Greg Berhalter not to pick Miles Robinson, especially in the situation that he's in.
Sam, I was just wanting to look up. I mean, I know this game's in Dallas. Are they playing in the Cowboys Stadium? Do you know that off the top of your head?
For a Nations League game, I don't know if they would.
AT&T. So they might be playing on turf, dude. That's the one thing that I would look at, especially with Miles and how much he does not like playing on turf, it seems like, in coming to us. But AT&T Stadium. I don't know if they bring in maybe grass because they're trying to get a World Cup game in the next couple of years. Maybe they're trying to test that out and see how that goes because I don't think they're going to play the World Cup on turf. But something to watch for. Again, so Miles being out kind of creates this interesting situation in the back line. Is Nick Hagglund going to come back? Is he going to see any minutes in this game? I think he probably comes in as a sub. Seems like all things are pointing towards Murphy on the left center back, Miazga in the center, Kip Keller on the right center back, and then our normal guys out wide. But yeah, at least in the center back area, Sam, I think New York, only has 3 goals that they've scored this year. They haven't looked that dangerous, but
two of them is by their leading scorer, Santiago Rodriguez. He's got 2 goals in 4 MLS appearances, and he plays left mid, right?
oh,
So
interesting. They're
a lot
going
of
to try to
production
attack
coming from that left side.
Yeah, they're going to try to attack the width again. And I think that's another thing to watch is just how does Oriano respond? You know, does the coaching staff have time to kind of say, all right, you know, this is when you pick to choose to go up. And this is where you need to actually drop back a little bit more and support the center backs, especially in this game. If we're going to have maybe not our best foot forward in terms of the center backs, like maybe does he have to drop back a little bit more? I've honestly loved how much that he's been able to take people on. Oriano, I think, is either second or third, I was reading, in successful take-ons. So I just want him to continue to create down that side, but just not get too caught up to where one moment like that happens and then you get a goal against you.
Yeah, I think to your point, it's phenomenal in the attack. It's just the defense that we got to work on a little bit, and hopefully game by game we get a better Orlando. But as far as Hagelin goes, my gosh, I don't know if this guy's going to even be on the squad. He's wearing a t-shirt and shorts during the training earlier this week. It was like 30-degree weather. I mean, he's bringing the right vibes, but he could potentially be out because he's got the sniffles.
Yeah, good point. Hag's always been that way, Sam. He's always been a guy in the cold just to wear the shorts, maybe some gloves, but
Warm
yeah,
him up with some of that coffee.
For sure. I mean, speaking on like the game, I mean, it's going to be Saturday night. I don't know if the weather is going to be a factor. It's going to be a cold one again. I'm sick of the cold.
50 degrees. 50
You think so? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know, man. Energy hopefully is going to be a little bit better being a Saturday night. That's the big thing
I was about to say
forward
first
to.
Saturday game of the season. So I think a lot more people will be willing to go if they don't have anything else to do. But why wouldn't you want to be there? Right.
Oh, for
First
sure.
Saturday game, TQL Stadium, baby.
Right.
You're getting the dub out of NYCFC. Why wouldn't you go?
Yeah, weekend before opening weekend for the Reds too. So I mean, what other stuff is going on other than you have a lot of the NCAA basketball games? But yeah, I mean, locally, that's the thing to do, at least, you know, during this weekend. But
Yeah.
Sam, you mentioned about Obi too. It sounded like yesterday he did not train. I'm curious to see in a cold weather game like this, like we're mentioning, I don't think they rush him back. I mean, we looked decent, I would say, you know, in his absence. You're never going to replace, you know, the arguably best center defensive mid in the league, but I don't know. I don't think they risk it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Obviously the cold weather is going to be a little tough on the body. It's going to be a little bit more cramping up, a little bit more stiff, right? So you don't want to risk it. And I think Pinto has done a fine job, right? Kind of filling in for him in the 6. I think that's what we'll probably see is another Pinto start. There
over
at the
Kubo.
6. I liked Pinto there rather than Kubo. If I'm being completely honest. I mean, they had Kubo. Did they start? They started him on the left wing, right? Left wing back.
Yeah, this past one I
Yeah.
believe they did because then they brought Oriano in at half. You're right.
Yeah. So I mean, I never know what's gonna go on with Pat or what's gonna go on his head, but I think Pinto has really been showing out. And why not give the guy a start, especially if that's, you know, his main role. Whereas Kubo, you can move him to wherever
Right.
you need him, you know,
Right.
to be moved.
Yeah, and you bring him in as a sub in any of those positions. And we really haven't had that in the first several games because we've needed Kubo in those spots. And to be honest, he's played a ton of minutes. So, I mean, this week is probably nice for him to kind of get a breather.
Take a back
Like you
seat.
said, depending on who shows up in practice is probably going to decide who gets the start in this game. I know that, you know, their physical player, let's say a little annoying player, I'm going to say it too, Keaton Parks. He always seems like he's stirring the pot with us. Him and Lucho got into it last year at New York, but he's going to be out on a red card. So at least in the midfield, I mean, Pinto dominated. I loved his play in some of the other games, maybe in the first half of this past one. I mean, he did okay, like I said, but just seeing him connect the lines and fill in here, you know, while Obi's out is going to be important, at least for one more game. We'll see how long, you know, past that. But the other thing I wanted just to comment on is just that this coach for NYCFC, Nick Cushing, is on the hot seat. So another thing, does that spur his team on? to try to get at least a point out of this game. Like I said, they're coming off their first win, but prior to that, they just did not look good. There was a lot of arguments going on around the team, at least from what I was listening on Extra Time. It sounds like some of the older players were not in agreement with how Nick was playing some of the younger players, or the younger guys weren't getting on board with it. So, Sam, we're Man City guys. And again, don't hate us out there, those listening for that. But this, city football way, like people have to buy into that. And at least for now, hopefully they can't get it figured out for our game.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a little upset too if I had the stadium that they had. Love Yankee
Sure.
Stadium, but my goodness, that is not a soccer stadium at all.
Dude.
So
they're building
yeah,
a beautiful stadium coming up though.
it's
Go and
interesting.
check out the renderings of that. They have like this nice cubed, like looking like wall. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I
So
saw it. I don't know.
the
I don't know.
graphics go all the way around it. You can stand underneath and like look at everything.
It reminds me.
Cool.
It reminds me of the Bean.
Kinda, in a way. The Bean doesn't have
Like,
graphics and stuff on it
no,
though.
I know, but like being able to like walk underneath it and like look underneath it, take pictures of like
Yeah, in
being,
that sense, I
it over
guess.
top of you.
Sure. I feel like am I wrong about this, that Times Square has something similar like that though? I feel like they have like all these overhanging graphics and stuff. I don't know.
Probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
who
to some
knows?
degree. I mean, there's advertisements everywhere. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's not even get into that combo about their stadium and everything. It's pathetic. But Sam, prediction for this game. What are your thoughts? How do you think we're gonna end this one?
2-0 FC Cincinnati.
Dang, you stole mine. I literally was gonna go 2-0 as well.
Oh, we can both be 2-0. Come on.
Yeah, let's do it. 2-0 it is. I want to get a win at home. I really want to see Bupenza get on the score sheet in this game, and then finally get Corey Baird. Let's get both our strikers scoring. Like you said last time, like Baird has been so close. He's got to get a goal to build some confidence.
Little dose of Cerro action.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on from that preview, we got some news today. As we mentioned on Monday's pod, Marco Angulo unofficially is being loaned. The club still hasn't fully announced that yet, but Pat Brennan reports on it. Tom Bogert reports on it. Sounds like the deal's getting done, especially, Sam, when this team in Ecuador is actually posting video of, Angulo in his uniform, and Angulo's posting it on his Insta and everything. Like, it seems like it's pretty legit.
Yeah, the guy just wants to be with his family. I mean, you can't blame him, but I don't know. I really want to know like what changed from last year to this year.
Yeah.
Especially during the off season, right? Was it just going back to his family during the off season and then just not wanting to leave and realizing, man, I really just want to stay home.
Sure.
Which I don't know what that's going to do for his career, right? But I mean, we want the guy to be happy. So
Yeah.
if going back and, playing in his home country, being closer to his family is going to make him happy, then, that's what we want. But I know they had said something about it being a loan with an option to buy, which I think is interesting because then FC Cincinnati still, retains the rights to him, right? And
is it a Barrial situation though?
Exactly. When he's ready, he can come back and play in the MLS, but I don't know if we'll have a spot for him, right?
Yeah.
Like it becomes one of those situations where, buddy, like you left because you weren't ready and we replaced you. So
yeah,
I don't know. I wish him all the best, but yeah, I thought that was a little interesting that the LDU was celebrating Angulo a little too early. Maybe, I don't know. It's not really truly confirmed yet.
Yeah, like I have a few comments on this, I guess. Young player, talented player, borderline, World Cup roster player for Ecuador, a year ago or a year and a half ago. But has kind of like fallen off in some ways or lost favor. Who knows in the preseason? Like, I mean, you said coming out of the offseason, at least he showed up to training camp and he was there. We don't know, was he going full speed? Was he just going through the motions?
Yeah, was your heart there?
I don't know. And like you said, is that a family thing? It sounds like his family, was not able to make it to the States all last year. He was very close with Yerson Mosquera. So having Yerson go, I'm imagining him and Moreno got along well
Moreno too, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that affects things too. And then you get this new guy, Buka, coming in, and you're like, well, shoot, this guy's going to take my potential starting spot now too. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that, he finds his footing there. Like you said, it was a loan option to purchase for $3 million, and then a sell-on fee potentially as well for FCC. So good piece of business for Albright to open up what sounds like it's going to be a U22 spot. And what I had heard confirmation on today was just depending on the salary and initial fee that we brought Angulo in for, is why that we can actually bring in another U22 player, even though our guy is not being sold, he's being loaned.
It's
so
underneath a certain threshold.
exactly, yeah. So I'm hoping that I think everyone in the whole fan base is thinking striker, right? We just need another guy up there because it just doesn't look like Santos is it, and I don't know if Kimi's even in the picture for things anymore lately. Not really sure, but yeah, it seems like they're going that way. So leading into that, we get that announcement from Pat or from Tom, in this afternoon. About an hour later, you see this rumor about a U22 striker. So Mateus Nascimento, I think
Let's
I'm
go
gonna
with
go
it.
with that. He's I'm gonna call him a wonder striker from Brazil. He's 20, but he's valued at like $9 million on Transfer Market. Doesn't seem like he's had a ton of experience for his team down in Brazil, Botafogo, but I don't know, Sam. He's played for the U20 Brazil national team. He's got some appearances, so the Brazilians see something out of him. That's kind of promising. But like you said, he doesn't have a lot of first team appearances in the track record. Is that what you're wondering? Like, where does the valuation come from?
100%. I mean, I think we've seen this throughout world football, soccer, etc. People overvaluing certain players, whether that be from an agent perspective, a team perspective, or even a player perspective. Just putting themselves above what they truly are. Now, obviously, I know nothing, but I feel like this seems to happen a lot, especially in the Brazilian marketplace, with their main prospects or guys that you had mentioned. Botafogo, right, just had sold Endrick to Real Madrid, right? So this is their number 2 guy. So what are they going to do? They're going to raise the price on their number 2 guy because now he's more valuable because, hey, we just sent a dude to Real Madrid. Like, so I think there's factors that play into that. 9 million seems a little far fetched when you look at everything. I know, once again, stats don't say everything, but
Hendricks was with Palmeiras. So,
okay.
yeah, it's separate Brazil team, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like, Hendrick's 17 and this guy's 20, so might be their second option for like striker at that age group though.
So on his stats though, like obviously stats don't tell the whole story because they don't tell a story at all. He's got like, I want to say like 5-6 goals, if that.
Yeah.
I think he had 23 appearances though in like 2022 or something like that. So I mean, there's promise as far as caps. But I think the biggest thing for him, if you look at it, his match ratings are actually pretty solid. He's sitting at mid, probably 7s, if not low 7s, which is actually like pretty good and means you're contributing throughout the entire game. Now, you may not show up on the stat sheet as far as goals, assists, etc., but you're making a difference in the game. So I think contributing in that standpoint, if the Brazilians see him as a factor, from that perspective, then I mean, why not?
Compare his numbers to Brenner. That's kind of what I'm looking at is what's our track history with a $11 million transfer from Brazil.
No kidding.
And Brenner had historically scored there. Maybe not like Neymar numbers or Endrick numbers or Vinicius numbers, but I mean, he was scoring, and that league has been tapped into, honestly, with the start of Brenner, I'm going to call it, because ever since then, you've seen more and more guys kind of go back and forth between it. So it is interesting in like how we value those Brazilian players or those Brazilian strikers. Honestly, it's ambitious, like for the club, if that's truly, a real thing, and we at least like are trying to figure out, is this guy available or not?
Let's go.
I mean, that's pretty huge. I don't know, like, where does that fit in with things? And like we mentioned in the last podcast, opening up multiple U22 spots, why not try to bring some of the best talent in. This guy's 6 foot. So, I mean, the thing I would want to look for, Sam, is can you fill a mold similar to Vasquez? Can you get a strong physical striker that's more of a hold-up striker? And I don't know if this guy is
from
that.
photos, it doesn't look like he's
Doesn't
got
look
a lot
like
of
this
build
guy
to
is
him,
that way.
right? He looks a lot more finesse rather than, a hold-up guy. Bupensa's got more meat on him than he does, which, I mean, Bupensa he's a solid guy.
Pretty solid
right?
guy,
Once again,
yeah.
like he had said, he's doing backflips over here, and he looks like, almost like a linebacker. Like, so, but yeah, I think that's the type of build that we're looking for, though, is somebody who's a little bit taller that is their main focus, or I guess their initial thought is, I'm going to head this ball in.
Mhm.
But yeah.
It's interesting. Again, ambitious. We'll see what happens. Tom Bogert ends his tweet, though, about this Angulo situation and opening up the U22 spot with saying that he expects FC to try to fill this role, or this spot, I should say, by April 23rd when this window closes. So interesting. We were all thinking maybe even by summer, but before then would be a bonus. So we'll see what happens. Sam, before we go, one last thing you wanted to mention?
Yeah, one last thing. Obviously, just looking at the FC Cincinnati landscape, I wanted to give a shout out to the FC Cincinnati Academy. From this past weekend, they had 2 shutouts in 5 games this past weekend. That was the U13, U14, U15, and U17s. So they're showing out. They won 4-2 against the likes of a team that actually, I don't know if it trickles down, but a Minnesota United Academy team. So pretty impressive there that we're getting, some quality dubs. But just wanted to give them a quick shout out.
Can we get a quick shout out to the FCC too for their new kits? Those things are fresh. The mosaic jerseys. I know they lost in their game. We said it even the last time too, but just wanted to say it again. You mentioned the academy, but yeah, we'll see how these guys contribute. We have some pretty awesome coaches down in those youth levels too. We mentioned that before, and with Bobby and interviewing him in the past. Awesome guys. But wanted to say thanks again to DJ Prymtime. We had a great time with his interview, and hope we can get him back on soon. Thanks to everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week.